This guy asked the question. He says, I got a new side job and met a girl there. She showed signs of liking me, coming close to me, breaking physical barrier, touching for no reason. The next day, she acts cold. Why? I don't know if you left this comment or somebody left a comment similar to that on my page, right? So I don't know how often this is happening because it sounds like she did all this on day one, and then on day two, she wasn't doing nothing, right? So here's the truth is that your new stimuli, and women have fun flirting. Like women have fun flirting and talking to guys, and it doesn't always have to lead to something romantic. And also realize that women are hormonal, and the day-to-day of how they treat you is going to shift. One day they could be all flirty and kind and generous. The next day they could just be like, I want to be to myself. And here's the thing, guys. Here's the point, is that I don't want you to get into the habit of overthinking too much about what a woman's moves mean or don't mean. Like I know I teach in the show a lot about how like, hey, look out for these things that are signs of interest, right? But the problem is, like to this guy's point, women will go from like doing that stuff to all of a sudden like, oh my gosh, she's not doing anything to me. What's going on? It must be about me. She must not like me as much, or she's playing games, yada, yada, yada. I'll give you a perfect example, right? So I was on a job one time and there was a girl that was there and she came in one day and was like, not really talking to anybody. She wasn't her normal bubbly self, whatever, right? And so it turned out somebody close to her had recently passed away and she was upset about it, right? Now, I wasn't trying to be flirty with this girl at all. But the point is this, what if I had been? If I've been flirty with this girl and I'm just like, I come in one day and she's all of a sudden like, whatever. And I'm like, oh, she's not touching me today. She's not doing whatever. She's not giving me normal conversation. Oh my God, she must be blah, 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 blah. I'm making it all about me, right? And really in the situation, it's about what she's going through and the turmoil she has in her head for that day to where she's just not that way, right? And so this is why you have to really take so much of what her actions are off of you about, because I didn't do this thing or because she's acting this way, it's based on her feeling certain thing for me and I for whatever. Like, guys, you just show up the best way you can and hopefully how she's acting towards you is going to be great, but you can't assume it's going to be like that all the time or that she doesn't have other things going on besides trying to attract you and get to know you, yada, yada, yada. So that's the first part. But the second part is this, is that if she is going from showing you that stuff and or whatever, this is also, you're on a job, right? So understand that there might be part of it that's like, this is a job situation, maybe things are going on and I don't want to quite whatever, you know? He says she has been doing this for weeks. She offered to drive me to Unicampus. We went to eat before she dropped me off. And the next day she acts cold. Okay. So this goes back to women are hormonal and it's realistically, you just met this girl in the beginning of any kind of thing, whatever, right? Women are going to go from like showing all the interest in the world to like, maybe it lowers a day. I actually talked about this in my show where I talked about the levels of interest going from like basically 50 to like 100, right? So basically, or I went from 1 to 10, but basically there's going to be times in your interaction with a woman where in the beginning, it might start at like, say she's at like a 2, right? And then she gets to know you a bit, whatever. It goes to like a 4, and then maybe it goes to like a 5, and then it gets to a 7, where she's just like, she's driving you to uni, she's buying you food, all this other stuff. And then one day, it dips back down to like 4. It could be something you did, something you said, or it could just be she's having an off day, or maybe, you know, depending on how much time you guys spend with each other, maybe you've been spending a lot of time and she's starting not to miss you as much because she's seeing you and talking to you all the time, which happens a lot because a lot of guys are over texting and being there too much for her. And as a guy, we're thinking, but that makes no sense because she likes me and she wants to be around me and she's the one that's suggesting the blah, blah, blah. And so what I find is that when a woman's energy starts to look like it's pulling back a bit, the worst thing you can do as a guy is try to go forward. Like if she has a day where she's something not as touchy-feely, that's fine. You don't be as touchy-feely. If it goes from she's texting you every day till she texts you 1 or 2 word answers, fine. You text 1 or 2 word answers. I typically recommend guys like stay off the phone altogether except to ask for dates. But again, part of this could be if you find that you've been spending a lot of time with her, then it could simply be she's at that point in the ebb and the flow of the relationship where, or it's not relationship yet. So the dating phase where it's like, I think I like this guy, but we might be spending a lot of time together. And so I don't know where I'm feeling, but he's around a lot. And when you don't give a woman room to breathe and to stop and kind of think about you, then that can start to cause her to pull back just a little bit because she's starting, it's almost like she's starting to like second guess if what she's feeling is actually real, if she likes you as much as she thinks she does, if she hasn't had time to really sit with herself for that stuff, that can cause her to start to pull back a bit. He said, how should I deal with the situation when I'm in the office and she is around? What's the best outfit advice you could give me? How should I act? I love the alpha stuff. Real talk. Here's the thing, guy. Okay. And I mentioned this on a previous show too about how there's a difference between if you're around her all the time when you're like texting her and trying to invite her out versus when you're around her at the office, right? Because at the office, you see each other every day, but you don't have to talk to her. Like there's going to be, I don't know how you guys are situated in your job. If it's like just you two are at the job and that's it. But I found that more often than not, that's a situation where she might come over to your desk or whatever your job thing is to talk for a little bit, banter, and then walk off to talk to other people. So she's not having to talk to you nonstop, whereas the phone, that can be a nonstop thing. You being in person tends to be more of a nonstop thing. And so, like I said, it just could be a thing where she needs a bit of a break. And this guy saying, ignore her, but be nice to her when she approaches you. This is one of those things where, again, this other thing too, is that I don't think guys realize that there's this myth going on that in terms of attraction, relationships should be 50-50. Each person should be 50-50 trying, right? So it's like, I'm going to hit her up 50% of the time. She's going to hit me up. I'm going to ask her out 50% of the time. She's going to hit me up. And I'm going to show her interest and talk about my feelings 50% of the time, and she'll do the same. And that's not how this works. Because I've said on the show before, women feel things 3 times more by the actions that we do. So if we text her 3 times to her 3 times, it feels like we're texting her 9 times in terms of initiating text, right? So that's why I tell you guys, for example, in terms of initiating text, it should be 3 to 1. For every 3 texts she initiates, you send 1. For every 3 times she says, I love you, you say 1. That to her is going to feel like an even balance. Because as much as women like to act like they don't want to chase us, the reality is if she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. And women only chase men that they feel they have to catch. And in order for that, get that feeling, it means you can't be doing the most. So as much as you want to spend a lot of time with her, if you're the one that's constantly initiating that time, that is a problem because it means that she's not doing more of the initiating than you are. Yes, in the beginning of dating, you're going to be asking her out like once a week. But what you're going to find is as you do that, as the more she starts to like you, she's going to start to ask you for more times out. Like again, you'll ask her out for 1 day a week, like for a Thursday, and she'll say, hey, so let's meet up on a Monday. Oh, I have this thing happening on Tuesday. That's her asking you out more. If you find that that's not happening up to this point, then it means that you're doing too much stuff and you're not allowing her to actually do. So, per this guy saying, just scale it back a bit. Like you're not getting rid of her. This isn't a major red flag when she's trying to dump you. It just could be her short signal. Here's another thing too. I say that a lot. Here's another thing too. I'm looking at what I do in these conversations and stuff. But anyway, I just had it in my head. Is that I just lost the thought. I'm sorry. I had a great thought about what she was doing. And there's the thing. Okay, yes. So when women start to get silent about things, sometimes it means that there's something you're doing that's causing, the thing you're doing is causing her attraction to you to be slightly affected. Not enough to do any major damage to her feelings for you, but slightly, whatever, right? But women just oftentimes, just like guys, don't always know how to bring it up. And a lot of women have had the experience of trying to bring up a thing to a guy that resulted in that guy blowing up or taking it out of proportion or thinking she doesn't like him anymore. And so women in those moments can get in their head about like, okay, I want to say this thing to him. It could be like, you snore too loud or, she wants to hang out with you more, but like she's starting to not hang out with her friends as much or whatever. And she doesn't know how to say that without thinking you're going to get hurt. So she doesn't. So that happens sometimes too. In those situations, it's probably fine to be like, hey, I'm great getting to know you. Like, what can I be? Is there anything that we could be talking about or that I haven't done that could be maybe even more beneficial to us getting to know each other, whatever, because otherwise women won't voice it. Like, I know guys like, you shouldn't ask a woman about things going wrong, this is that. It's to a point, you should be able to be confident, but you also need to recognize that there are going to be times when women want to say stuff and they're not. And so you got to kind of like get that out of like, hey, babe, I noticed like, maybe you're kind of feeling down the other day. I just want to know, like, is everything okay? What's going on with you? Like, I want to know what's happening in your world right now to make sure that we're good, But that's another little thing too. But ultimately, in terms of you and her, like I said, just be a bit more patient, maybe not see her every single day this week, maybe not talk to her every single day and see if that doesn't turn things around to her coming back to you. So hopefully somewhat of what I've said has helped you out. All right. So we got a question here. Same guy. So he's saying, would you guys think the following is a good idea? I'm going to ask my manager that I'm busy with uni and I want to work from home the next week. So I don't go to the office for a full week and I don't see her. So I won't see them at the office for a week. You can try it out. I said, the nice thing about the dating game is that it's all just experimenting. Like, you're trying things that work or don't work. So you could very well be like, you need to work for the office in the week and then just work for a couple of days from home and then see if she reaches out. Hey, I haven't seen you in the office for a minute. What's going on? Did you get fired? What's going on? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, nothing. Just, I had some things to catch up on. So I had to work at the office. I had to work from home this week just to really get caught up on stuff. But hey, you know what? I'd love to see you. Let's plan out a time to see each other on this day at this time. That way, when she reaches out to you, which we're hoping she's going to do, then you can say, oh, I've been busy at home, but I'd love to catch up. And you're still planning a date. Because again, ultimately, you should be using the phone for planning dates, not for all this extra talk, all right? So try that out. And hey, I'd love to be able to, because I do the show once a week, I'd love to see what the results are from you doing this. So keep us posted, Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad you're appreciating the advice. Like I said, this is from years of trial and error. So everything I tell you guys, and all the advice that I give you guys, I've gone through most of the situations you guys have gone through. I've gone through dating a coworker before. I've gone through, my high school days, not being the best with women and trying to figure out how I should talk to them, how I should approach them. Like, I've run the gamut. So, but things I'm advising you on is not just coming out of my butt. Like, it's really based on this was the same situation. Like, real talk. I had a girl I was working with for, it's a little do-me. Okay. So I had a girl I was working with at a sandwich shop out here for 2 years. And we kind of had a playful banter going back and forth at work, but it wasn't as much as attractive as I found her, I wasn't thinking anything could happen, right? And then one night, me, her, and her best girlfriend, we left work and went to go to some kind of thing. We went to some restaurant, something like that, and I had to drop the friend off, but we had to stop someplace first for the girl that I worked with to get something from some other place, right? So she left the car, and me and the friend are there, and the friend just looks at me and is like, she has a crush on you, right? And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, she actually has kind of a crushy thing on you. It's like, oh my God, I had no idea. So then that girl gets back in the car. I drop her friend off, and now it's just me and the girl from work in the car, right? So we go to get something to eat real quick. And then as we're leaving, I'm going to drive her home. And she's like, well, if you want to hang out at your place for a little bit, we can do that. What? So at this point, I knew just enough game to know if she's saying she wants to come to my place just to hang out and watch the movies a little bit, that was code for she's probably ready to do some stuff. So we go back to my place and we get to my room. I turn on my TV. It's not 5 seconds before we're just, doing whatever. Girl, my job. So we hooked up a few times, and then it got to a point where, admittedly, because I was still getting into the groove of kind of understanding women, there's going to be times in your journey of dating when you get better with women that you're going to be like, yes, I got this. And then you're going to do something and completely fall off the wagon, and you got to get back up. So I started appearing a little bit too needy, maybe a little too possessive in terms of I want to see you today and blah, blah, blah. And so she decided she just she ghosted me, but we still work together. So for me, I had to now go into the job I went to the job 3 or 4 times a week where I saw her at least 2 of those days out the week, right? I had to go into the job knowing that I was going to see her and that we were no longer hooking up, and I had to be cool with it. And it really taught me about the fact that I think as guys, we think our emotions, we aren't in control of our own emotions, and that we're going to just fly out the handle whenever we see our exes or we think people are treating us wrong. And it's no, because if you're in a professional setting, you have to get your emotions under control. You can't fly out the handle at this woman that you saw the night before that doesn't want to see you anymore, because that's unprofessional. So you start to learn that, oh, I can actually be in control of my emotions. I can actually go to my job and see this person and just talk to them like I was talking to them before we hooked up. Just talk to them regular. Hey, what's up? How's your day? Oh, here comes the customer, yada, 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 right? But here's the other thing too, is that I didn't act butthurt. I didn't call her out of her name. I was able to be cordial. A few months later, we're at the restaurant and we're just kind of shooting the breeze, whatever. We start kind of talking. Next thing I know, she's getting a little flirty. I'm getting a little flirty. And we hooked up again. And we hooked up a few more times after that before it ultimately fizzled out. But it's why was that able to happen? Because I wasn't butthurt. I decided to be patient. I let her go on her own journey or whatever. And as a result of that, I appeared less needy, and we were able to reconnect again. So that's an example of I've been through the hooking up at job situation to know that you pestering a person isn't going to be beneficial, and that sometimes just being a bit more patient could cause them to get back into good graces with you if you're not acting all mad at them or trying to call them out for all that kind of stuff, So hopefully that gives you some insight into how that happens. You's a bad boy, but you can't stop, won't stop. You a high earning, high high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high class man. You a high class man. You a